Mabuhay! My name is Mary Joy, and today, together with my fellow classmates, we will be sharing with you some information about civil and tax law under legal aspect. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this video.
Mabuhay mga katurismo! I am Mayan Camille and I'm here to talk about some part of civil law. Let's define civil law. Civil law can be defined as the body of the law that is concerned with the private disputes between two individuals or groups. Civil law protects individuals' rights and establish responsibilities we all must comply with. Third, provide a remedy such as compensation in the event of a breach of a civil rights. The main purpose of civil remedy is to return the injured person to his or her original position before the harm was done. That's all for this video. I hope you learned something to me. And choose tourism, choose UE. Paalam!
Good day everyone, I'm Andrea Hermono, a tourism student from University of the East taking a Bachelor of Science in Tourism Management. Today I have a question. Do you have an idea what's an obligation? If no, please continue watching this video for you to gain more knowledge about this topic. Obligation. An obligation is a legal transaction in which parties bind themselves to either act or refrain from acting up. An obligation is a legal relationship between two or more persons. An obligation exists when an obligor or the debtor owes a performance in favor of an obligee. And two, the performance of duty is legally enforceable. The obligee is entitled to the judicial enforcement of the obligor's duty to perform and to recover damages if the obligor fails to perform. Now, let's talk about kinds of obligation. 1. Real rights and real obligations. A real right is a right in a thing that's good against the world. A real obligation is an obligation incurred as a result of a real right. 2. Strictly personal and heritable obligations. An obligation is heritable if it can be enforced by or against the successors of the original obligors and obligees. Thus, heritably concerns only the question of whether a third party will be substituted or added to the obligation. A strictly personal obligation is an obligation that is only enforceable by the original obligee or against the original obligor, thus it's not heritable. 3. Conditional obligations. Conditional obligation is an obligation whose occurrence depends on an uncertain event, uncertainty over the weather. 4. Obligations with several people. Several obligations exist when separate performances are owed. Several obligations are treated as separate obligations and produce the same legal impact as obligations incurred through different judicial acts. Joint obligations exist or obligors when one performance is owed and when no joint obligor is bound for the whole and no joint obligee is entitled to receive the whole performance. Now let's talk about the sources of obligation. What are some of the sources of obligation? Contracts. The law of contract is one of the most commonly understood sources of obligation. Contractual obligations are outlined in a contract agreed between two or more parties and of the contract. This could include the exchange of money, the sale of goods, services, and so on. Delict. The law of delict, also known as tort, covers a number of different violations or breaches to obligations imposed by law. These obligations are the ones that people can reasonably expect as part of their daily life, such as going to work and living their life free from assault or harm. But in instances where these things do occur, there are steps that can be taken under the law, such as receiving preparation and holding the offending party liable for their actions in court. The areas of delict can include physical assault, invasion of privacy, interference with the property, fraud, defamation, slander, and nuisance and harassment, and so on. So that is all Thank you very much everyone for listening. Goodbye. She's Yui Manila. She's Yui Tourism.
Mabuhay, Katarismo! My name is JJ Villanueva and I'm here to discuss a topic related to legal aspect. In legal aspect, we tackled about law of sales and a few parts of it is about the obligation of the seller and the buyer. Obligations of the vendor or seller. There are 5 parts in obligations of the vendor. First, transfer ownership. This cannot be waived. Second, deliver the thing sold. This cannot also be waived. Third one is the warrant against eviction and against hidden defects. This can be waived or modified since warranty is not an essential element of the contract of sale. Fourth one is taking care of the parcel or item and monitoring the delivery. Last one is the vendor is obligated to pay for the expenses of the deed of sale unless there is a stipulation to the contrary. Obligation of the vendee or the buyer. One of the principal obligations of the buyer is to accept the delivery. Second is to pay the price of the thing sold in legal tender unless there are another mode has been arranged upon on. There are other obligations such as to take care of the goods without the obligation to return where the goods are delivered to the buyer and he or she is rightfully refuses to accept it. Warranty of defects. The vendor shall be responsible for warranty against the hidden defects which the thing sold may have. Should they render it unfit for the use for which it is intended, or should they diminish its fitness for such use to such an extent that, had the vendee been aware thereof, he would not have acquired it or would have given a lower price for it.
Law of Sale. The Consumer Act of the Philippines Republic Act number 73494. The Consumer Act regulates the sale of consumer products on the Philippine market. It prohibits deceptive, unfair, and unconscionable sales acts and practices. Sale. A nominate contract whereby one of the contracting parties obligates himself to transfer the ownership of and to deliver a terminated thing and to other to pay, therefore, a price certain on its money or its equivalent. Element. A. Essential elements, those without which there can be no valid sales. First, consent or meeting of mind. A. A determinable subject matter. Third, price certain in the money or its equivalent. B. The nature elements inherent in the contract and which is the absence of any contrary provision are deemed to exist in the contract. First, the warranty against eviction. The second one is warranty against hidden defect. Differences between contract of sales and the contract to sell. First, title passes to the buyer upon delivery of the thing sold. Second, non-payments of the price is a negative resolutory condition and the remedy if the seller is to exact fulfillment or restrain the contract. Third, the vendor loses and cannot recover ownership of the thing sold and deliver it until the contract of sale is resolved and set aside.
In contract to sell, the most important details in this text are ownership is reserved in the seller and is not to pass until the full payment of the purchase price. And that title remains in the vendor if the vendee does not comply with the condition precedent of making payment at the time specified in the contract. The rights of the buyer include the right to return the thing and recover the money paid, or to retain the thing and sue for the breach of warranty. If buyer has paid at least 2 years of installment, the buyer must pay without additional interest. The unpaid installment due within the total grace period earned by him. Actual cancellation can only take place after 30 days from receipt of notice of cancellation or demand for rescission by a notarial act and upon full payment of the cash surrender value. The buyer has the right to sell his rights or assign to same to another person or to reinstate the contract by updating the account during the grace period and before actual cancellation of the contract. They also have the right to pay in advance any installment or the full unpaid balance of the purchase price any time without interest and to have such a full payment annotated in the certificate of title covering the property. And if the buyer has paid less than 2 years of installment, the seller must give the buyer a grace period of 60 days to pay the installments due. And if the buyer fails to do so, the seller may cancel the contract after 30 days.
Mabuhay! I'm class number 13 from TM6C. What is contract? Under the civil law, contract is a meeting of minds between two parties where one binds himself to the other for service or gives something, verbal and non-verbal. Here are some examples of contract. Ayan na! Alam mo na ang ibig sabihin ng contract. Kaya, ikontrata mo na. Just nervyos. Here are the 5 classifications of contract. First, valid. No defect and legally enforceable. Second, void ab initio or an insistent contract. Void from the beginning. Third, unenforceable contracts. Unenforceable until ratified. 4. Rescissible contract. Valid but can occur injury or damage to one of the parties or third persons. 5. Is voidable contract. Valid contracts but can be annulled in the court. I hope you learned something from me, huh? That's why you should choose tourism, choose UAE Manila. Thank you.
Mabuhay! For today's topic, we're going to talk about civil partnership. At first, what is a civil partnership? A civil partnership refers to a legal relationship registered by two unrelated people. Both same-sex and opposite-sex couples can apply for a civil partnership by registering a civil partnership. The couple's relationship gains legal recognition, legal civil partnership rights, and responsibilities. If after a year a couple decides to end a civil partnership, they must apply to court to legally bring it on to an end. They recommend consulting our civil partnership resolution solicitors for expert advice at that age. Our second topic is domestic abuse, also called domestic violence or intimate partner violence. Can be defined as a partner of behavior in any relationship that is used to gain or maintain power and control over an intimate partner. Abuse is a physical, sexual, emotional, or psychological action or threats of actions that influence another person. This includes any behavior that frighten, intimidate, terrorize, manipulate, hurt, humiliate, blame, injure, or with someone. Domestic abuse can happen to anyone of any race, age, sexual orientation, religion, or gender. It can occur within a range of relationships, including couples who are married, living together, or dating. Choose tourism? Choose UAE Manila.
What is tax law? Tax law in the Philippines covers national and local taxes. National taxes refers to national internal revenue taxes imposed and collected by the national government through the Bureau of Internal Revenue or BIR. And local taxes refer to those imposed and collected by the local government. A tax is a mandatory payment or charge collected by local, state, and national government from individuals or businesses to cover the cost of general government services, goods, and activities.
Mabuhay mga katurismo! My name is Ryan Sikat. In this video, I'm going to talk about travel tax. According to the Presidential Decree 1183, as amended, the travel tax is imposed by the Philippine government on individuals who are leaving the country, regardless where the air ticket is issued or purchased. Did you know that according to Section 73 of the Republic Act 9593, 50% of the proceeds from the travel tax collection shall accrue to the TESA, 40% shall accrue to the Commission on Higher Education for tourism-related educational programs and courses, and the remaining 10% shall accrue to the National Commission for Culture and Arts. Do you know how much the travel tax rates? Who pays the full travel tax? First, taxable foreign passport holders. Second, non-immigrant foreign passport holders who stay in the Philippines for more than. These are exempted from paying travel tax. First, OFWs. Second, infants, those who are 2 years old and below. And lastly, the Filipino permanent residents abroad who stays in the Philippines for less than 1 year. When to ask for refunds? First, when your ticket is unused. Second, when you failed accidentally twice. Third, when you were removed or uploaded in the flight. Fourth, when your flight is cancelled. And lastly, when you are downgraded from the first class to economy class. For those who violate, they may penalty of imprisonment of not less than 2 years but not more than 5 years, or fine not less than 2,000 pesos but not more than 10,000 pesos, or both at the discretion of the court.
Mabuhay! I am Adeline William, and today we are going to talk about the principles of a sound tax system. The first principle is fiscal adequacy. It means that sources of revenue taken as a whole should be sufficient to meet the expanding expenditures of the government. It is a plan for how the government spends taxpayers' money and how it pays for its activities, its borrowing and the repayment of its borrowing. The budget is the government's key instrument for promoting its socio-economic objectives. The second principle is equality or theoretical justice. In equality or theoretical justice, tax burdens should be proportional to the taxpayer's ability to pay. Ability to pay principle. It is stated in the Article 6, Section 28 that the rule of taxation shall be uniform and equitable. The Congress shall evolve a progressive system of taxation. The last principle is administrative feasibility, wherein tax laws should be capable of convenient, just, and effective administration. And each tax should be clear and concise to the taxpayer, capable of effective and efficient enforcement, convenient as to time and manner of payment, and must not obstruct business growth and economic development. There are two types of income tax. The first one is individuals. Individuals are the resident citizens receiving income from sources within or outside the Philippines. And the second one is non-individuals. Non-individuals are the corporations, including partnerships, no matter how created or organized, domestic corporations receiving income from sources within and outside the Philippines, foreign corporations receiving income from sources within the Philippines, and estates and trusts engaged in trade or business.
And that's it, guys. I hope this video helps you to better understand the civil and tax law. Thank you for watching. Choose tourism, choose UE Manila.